So, we haven't done one of these for a while. We're going to do a little backseat review.
It's Backseat Reviews.
No, I've been watching a lot of TV, but not a lot of films.
Yeah, so. I've been watching Better Call Saul recently. So good.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And there's a new series of Disenchantment, I think it's called.
Yes, I started watching that.
Did you watch the first season?
Yes.
I wasn't sure about it. I thought
I'm still not, to be honest.
Good bits. Like I remember in the first season, there's a bit where a jester gets thrown out of a window.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he says, but it's something absolutely hilarious. But otherwise, it's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
But we watched something specifically.
Yes, we have watched something sporty, as we do for this segment.
How sporty it was is debatable.
Yes, it's kind of more about economics. It was the film Moneyball.
This has been recommended to me by a fair few people.
Same. I've been told to watch Moneyball by a lot of people. Brad Pitt, obviously. He's always good in stuff, isn't he, Brad Pitt, generally? It is about the story of the 2002, what are they called? Astros? No. Oakland Athletics.
Yeah.
What are they called? Is it the Athletics? It's been a long time since I watched it already.
Oakland.
It's Oakland, isn't it? It's the Oakland baseball team. Their story of a turnaround from being they're a very small market team, and they managed to do good stuff with very low budget.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the story of how he used a guy called Pete. What's his name? Pete something. Pete Stas. I should have written more notes. I was expecting us to do it the day after.
Pete Harvard.
Pete from Harvard, yeah. He uses uses his economics degree to work out what was undervalued, basically. That's how he does it. They look at things that are undervalued in the prices that they would have to pay for players.
Yeah, so the idea is that up until this particular film, and it's based on a true story.
Yes. It was based on a book, which was based on a true story. Wasn't it?
Yeah. Players have been picked on all manner of things, but generally how people feel about them.
Yeah, so it's based on the traditional scouting network, which is how all sports were done. They'd go along and see what the player looked like. They'd see what his swing looked like, or what his pitch looked like, or how elegantly he runs around the field, how much of an athlete he is, and not look at the things that this guy Pete looked at, which is what on-base percentage. That was the thing that they kept saying.
Yeah.
Is how many times does this guy get onto a base? Because that's how you win baseball games.
Yeah, so using this method and really just going just going balls deep in this method and going, we are purely going off their stats.
Yeah.
They picked a team of players which were not being looked at by the big teams.
Yeah.
Because they might have been too old or their pitch looked weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what the film focuses on. And there's a couple of people there's one guy who is a pitcher and he slings it from basically by his ankles.
Yeah.
And it's a very unusual pitching style, but he's a guy who very frequently gets a good, I'm not sure what it is. It's not the on-base percentage for him, I guess. It's strikeouts or hits the whatever they wanted him to do. He did that a lot, but he would have been rejected by the traditional scouting methods. There's the old hitter guy who they weren't sure if he would be any good anymore, but all they needed him to do was hit the ball, get on base. That's all they wanted him to do, and he was obviously good enough to do that still. And then there's one other guy, the first baseman, isn't there, who was not a first baseman. He was a catcher.
Yeah, and he was injured, so he couldn't really throw.
He couldn't throw the ball at all.
But he got on base. Yeah,
he was a great batter for getting on base. And he's sort of the main crux of the story, sort of really, that first baseman.
Yeah.
Because the coach will not play him. They've got a first baseman, and the coach, who is, what's his name? William H. Macy? No, that's not him. Can't remember his name. Good actor.
Yeah, plays Plutarch in the Catching Fire.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he does.
You know those books.
We're so good at names, aren't we? So good at names. This is why we don't do a film review podcast.
Yeah, that definitely isn't his best work either.
No. He's in loads of stuff.
I just watched it recently.
Yeah, but anyway, he's in it. So yeah, the coach is like, we're not going to play this guy because we've got a first baseman. He's a better first baseman. We're only going to play this first baseman. He's kind of a traditionalist, in that sense, and it's kind of about how those systems butt up against each other, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So that's sort of what the film is about. I don't think it went enough into what the coach would do and or think about this, because he made that decision not to play this first baseman that they'd picked for his on base percentage,
Scott,
and then was told to play him, and then played him, and then they did well. Doesn't really show the coach doing much or having a say, or even being angry about not having a say after like one scene.
Very briefly it does,
Doesn't really go into
he kind of stands his ground quite a bit. So it had been sold to me as this, they like overhauled this whole team and changed the whole way they did everything. So actually all he does is sign about 3 or 4 players. That's all it is. The rest of the team's still there. They were already there. So they were already in the system, whether the Moneyball guy, the analysis guy, maybe he looked at those players and said, these are good. But you don't see him getting rid of any players. I thought it was going to be like wholesale changes.
Not till like near the end. They get rid of, and just because they have to have the awkward conversation to show the human aspect, where they trade, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, they get rid of a couple who weren't working. But they get rid of those players more because they weren't working from an actual team perspective rather than the Moneyball perspective, don't they? Which is completely different. Like I was expecting it to be very, very economics based. I thought that's how it had been billed to me, but it isn't really. It's more about the people. It's more about Brad Pitt's character, how he manages to deal with these things. And although the Moneyball, I think the book is a lot more analytical and stuff, isn't it? Whereas this is very much a personal story about Brad Pitt's character, really.
Yes. Similar, so it's sort of fantasy football come to life, and very similar to fantasy football. My attention for it dropped off towards the end of the season.
Agreed. I don't know if I liked it or not, to be honest.
It was interesting, and it's how I view sports. I'm very much along lines of like it can be made very objective.
Yes. But can it really? Can it? Because although I
guess not, because they didn't in this film.
No, and they don't win.
No
spoilers, but it's a very old film, so I'm not too worried about spoilers. But they don't win at the end. They do the same as they did the season before, and he did a good job. He's been doing a good job up until that point anyway. Like they'd done really well to get to the 2001 playoffs before they brought in Moneyball. They lost all their big players at that point. And then at the end, it's Billy Beane, isn't he? That's Brad Pitt's character. He gets offered a massive contract with the Red Sox at the end and turns it down. It's the last thing, which is a true story. And he has gone on, Billy Beane, to be sort of a guru for a lot of people. Sam Allardyce was very into Billy Beane and met him before. Like Bolton, when they came up through the leagues, had a very similar strategy. But the funny thing is that Sam Allardyce's strategy was much more fleshed out. Like he did it much better than Beane did. This was just kind of the way when it changed. I think that's what it is that we come from a time now where sports and analytics is so hot.
Yes.
Like they analyze everything, and it's particularly American sports. They analyze every single stat, and like you have to be good at all these different stat lines to be a top player these days. But in 2001, when Moneyball started, none of that was really a thing, I don't think. That's what the film makes you think, and that's why I think it didn't affect me that much.
Yeah,
because it's how it is. That is how sport is. And I've played sport.
You're sort of watching it, just saying, "Oh yeah, this makes sense."
Yeah, that's very much it. And maybe at the time when the book came out and when Beane was doing it in real life, I assume it was revolutionary. Yeah, completely revolutionary. Probably. And Allardyce was in football, wasn't he? He was quite revolutionary in that way.
I think to try and make that point, there's one scene really near the beginning. I don't know if you had a weird character of the week.
Yeah, go on.
But mine was any one of the old men in that first meeting.
I was going to say the same thing. There's a big scouting meeting, and I thought they were all scouts, but they're not, are they? There's some like team manager and physio and stuff are all in there talking about who they're going to get to replace these massive stars that they've lost.
Yeah, and so I think there's one point in that conversation where they're discussing this one guy, and one person objected to picking him because his girlfriend was only a 6.
Yeah, I saw that. It's weird. Like, there's some weird stuff in there.
I can only assume they've done that to really highlight.
I think so.
The cultural change.
Yeah,
because surely not.
But the weird thing is that I can understand it to some extent, because the wags phenomenon that there is here, which probably wasn't around in 2001, but the wives and girlfriends, the posh spice, and that it escalates the club to a next level of exposure, which can help bringing in fans and then therefore money, which can then make the club better.
But his line of thought was his girlfriend's only a 6, so it shows a lack of confidence.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know what this guy looked like.
No,
that they're talking about, and that's coming from
70-year-old bloke,
a room full of people who look like they've been made from mashed potato.
Mashed potato and shoes. Yeah. Yeah, it was like they did. Obviously, I think they obviously overplayed that a little bit of how. But yes, I agree. They were weird characters, and I don't think it's him, but one of them, the head scout, very quickly is fired. Yeah, and that's kind of part of. And at that point, I was like, this is it. This is when there's going to be wholesale changes. He's going to chop and change everything. But none of that. No, it doesn't really change.
Brought people in.
It's not. There's not a huge amount of overhauling, really. No. It's quite a small chip away, which is kind of what the analytics is, isn't it? It's like, it's not huge overhauling, it's just chip away at 1.2% increases. They also,
other than like during the montages where you had the commentary over the top, like the commentators on each game saying about the misfits, didn't really see what the rest of baseball thought about the team either.
No. There was a few bits where there's like call-ins overlaid, like when he's Billy Beane driving his car in absolutely the worst way. He is the worst driver I've ever seen on film. He's so bad. Like, there's one bit where he swerves off the road and like cuts up a bloke and to come back off the road. It's awful. He's the worst driver. But yeah, sometimes when he's in the car, there's like overlay of what the fans are saying about it, and Beane's got to go and he's lost his mind, all this stuff. But it very quickly turned around, doesn't it? Yeah. And I guess it's a film, like it's gonna. But
yeah, it has to.
I did find it. I felt like there wasn't enough room for anything to breathe. Like it was all this happened and this happened and this happened and then that happened and then this worked and it worked and then they won and then they didn't win. But I didn't get enough time to get invested in it.
No.
Which I imagine the book did. I imagine the book did a very good job of it. But it felt like not the best adaptation material. I didn't think.
No.
I didn't feel like the film.
I mean, like, could you imagine them making a film of somebody picking their fantasy football team?
Yes, it'd be it'd be awful. Yeah, it is very similar, and I like the concept. And I like the whole concept of it, and I would quite like to read the book.
Yes,
because I think the book would be very interesting. Yeah, but I just found the film a little bit dry, probably really, and a little bit it's supposed to be an emotional story. Yeah, I didn't find it that emotional, really.
No.
The only bit so there's a few things I did like about it. I liked the baseball, like the actual filming of the baseball. I felt like it felt quite realistic. When some sports films are so trash at doing actual live sport, and this was very good, I thought. So I did like that. And what else did I like? There's something else. Brad Pitt.
Short list, though.
Short list. Brad Pitt was
he
was
is good, isn't it?
He's like, his character is good, and he's got some funny lines, as he always does. He's a very confident character, and I liked that. I did have something else I liked, but don't know what it was. So that's good, isn't it?
So should we give it a rating?
Yeah, I think so. Wait a minute, let me think about my rating first.
Yeah.
Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3, 6. Yeah. Like, well made. Yeah. Fairly well made film.
And I think mainly for Brad Pitt's acting.
Jonah Hill was good. Yeah. That was another thing I was going to say. Jonah Hill was quite good. I felt like I believed his character.
Yeah.
And part of it was supposed to be sort of him becoming a GM as well. Like Brad Pitt gave him GM things to do. Yeah. But that again didn't really have much legs. So they didn't do. Like he let go of one guy. That was all that happened.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I felt it felt a bit flat for me. Felt a bit flat, but interesting story and enough to pique my interest to read the book. Yeah. So that's why it gets a 6, but no more. So fuck you.
It's Backseat Reviews.